Hello, my name is Billy Henderson. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share with you the most important thing that ever happened to me. When I was 5 years old, I attended an old-fashioned presentation of the gospel given by a child evangelist. I don't remember words, but I remember what happened to me. I went forward that morning and knelt at the altar. There were people around, but no one spoke to me personally. As I knelt there, the love of God flooded my soul, and I felt the strong presence of the Holy Spirit in my heart. As I got up and walked back to the pew, sat down, I felt streams of tears flowing down my cheeks. I remember looking down and seeing little spots all over my green khaki pants. I remember saying out loud with amazement, "God is my Father." And like I said, I don't know what the lady said, but I do remember the effect of her words. This was not just an emotional response to an appeal. That abiding presence of God continued on with me into school the next year when I entered the first grade. And unlike a lot of kids who are just churched or are raised in religion, I really didn't have to live by rules, because seriously, every morning when I got up, I didn't just know that God was watching over me, but I knew that my Heavenly Father was walking with me. I remember out of nowhere just being compelled to give my lunch money to another student who didn't have a lunch. I remember sometimes on the way to church, before we would go, I would ask my mother if I could bag up some clothes, and we'd leave them on the stoop of a little house where I knew Donald lived. He was another first grader who came to school with holes in the knees of his pants. I remember another girl, her name was Cecilia. She was what we would call from the other side of the tracks, and everybody made fun of her, but God put it in my heart to be friends with her. Now, being trained by my father did not end at adolescence like empty religion. Instead, as I entered into high school, he pressed me to see the needs and the hurts of the people around me and helped me to respond to those needs. You know, there's a lot of chapters to this story, and I can't share all of them with you, but the main point is that God truly did something in my life at the preaching of the good news of Jesus Christ. Now, I'm certainly not perfect, and I'm not saying I was the greatest son, but I'm saying this, that God has been so faithful in letting me live a life of love rather than a life of fear and pride. Now, I want to ask you a question. Have you enjoyed the freedom of living a life of love? Or have you been bound to the empty existence of self-centeredness? Look, every man, every woman finds himself bound to an empty existence at some point. And it's at this time that we're most able to hear the story of how Jesus, the preeminent Son, came and showed us the way back to the Father and helps us make our journey home. If you fall into this category and you're tired of living outside the house of God and you long to be in relationship with Him, I want to ask you to go to lcfellowship.com and hit the button Coming Home. You'll read the story of how Jesus left the house and came into the world to tell of the great love of the Father. He then sent the Holy Spirit. That's the same Holy Spirit that came into my heart when I was 5 years old. He comes and He convinces us that there's no place for our selfishness in this world or in the world to come. But He also convinces us of the love of the Father. Then He'll come in and live in us and help us cry out to God as our Father. I've had a wonderful life, and I want the same for you. Please take just a few more minutes to read about this wonderful miracle and how it might take place in you. Go to lcfellowship.com and hit that button, Coming Home. God bless you.